The bold and the beautiful, death at the altar ****. The wedding was supposed to be a redemption arc. For Taylor. For Ridge. For the family that had been torn apart and stitched together too many times to count. After years of betrayals, heartbreaks, and tangled triangles, Ridge Forrester had chosen Taylor Hayes again, not out of convenience, not out of guilt, but because, for once, it felt like the right thing to do. The press conference announcing their wedding had been designed to reclaim control of the narrative, to repair the Forrester name after weeks of media-fueled chaos. Everything was prepared, PR was lined up, cameras rolling, media seated. It was supposed to be a moment of triumph. Until Taylor collapsed, right in the middle of the press conference. One moment she was smiling politely beside Ridge, her hand in his, answering questions about forgiveness, family, and second chances. The next moment, her legs buckled. Her body hit the floor. Microphones crashed to the ground. Gasps filled the room. And for a split second, everything stopped. Ridge was the first to move. He dropped to his knees, cradling her head, calling her name, shaking her gently. No response. Not even a flicker. Paramedics arrived fast. It was the Forrester name, after all, but by the time they got her stabilized, Ridge's world was already crumbling. The woman he had just vowed to spend the rest of his life with was barely clinging to hers. The hospital confirmed what Ridge feared most. Taylor had relapsed. The stress from months of emotional upheaval, media scrutiny, and trying to maintain a polished public face had cracked something deep inside her. Her history with mental health wasn't news, but she had been stable, balanced. Until now. But this wasn't just psychological. It was physical, dangerous, life-threatening. Her heart had suffered damage from untreated stress-related episodes. She had ignored symptoms, skipped appointments, smiled through pain to make it to this wedding. And now, doctors weren't sure she'd survive the week. The wedding never happened, not formally. But Ridge, determined to give her a reason to fight, signed the marriage papers at her bedside. Cameras weren't allowed inside the ICU, but the news still leaked. The image of Ridge, eyes red, holding Taylor's frail hand as he signed the documents, quickly went viral. Some called it beautiful, others called it desperate. But no one questioned the headline, Ridge Forrester marries Taylor Hayes on her deathbed. Forrester Creations, already shaky from recent scandals, spiraled. Investors panicked. Clients distanced themselves. Editorials speculated about Taylor's condition. Some accused the Forresters of using a sick woman for sympathy clout. Others dug up Taylor's past, her breakdowns, her disappearances, the infamous shooting incident. Suddenly, Ridge wasn't just a grieving husband. He was the face of a collapsing brand. While Taylor lay unconscious, Ridge was thrust into the impossible. He had to keep the company afloat while praying his wife didn't die. Steffy tried to step up. Thomas offered support. But neither had Ridge's authority. Fashion Week was 2 months away. A major acquisition deal was on pause. And buyers from Milan had pulled out of a $1 million contract. The board demanded answers. Ridge had none. Every time he stepped out of Taylor's room, he walked into a boardroom firestorm. Brooke offered to help. Despite their history, she knew the stakes. She proposed handling public messaging, appearances, anything to take the spotlight off Taylor's health and refocus it on the legacy of the brand. But the public wasn't biting. Their attention was on Taylor. Speculation morphed into frenzy when a photo of her, pale, oxygen mask strapped to her face, was leaked to the tabloids. Ridge was furious. Hospital staff were interrogated. Security doubled. But the damage was done. Whispers of an internal collapse began to circulate. Ridge's judgment was questioned. Why marry a woman on the brink of death? Critics asked. Why not step down and focus on the company? The vultures circled. Even some board members suggested appointing temporary leadership. Ridge refused. Every night, Ridge sat by Taylor's side, reading old letters, telling her stories, talking like she could hear him. Doctors warned him repeatedly her heart was weak. Any setback, any secondary infection, any neurological response under duress could end her life instantly. But Ridge believed she was still fighting. He clung to it. Then came the second collapse. Taylor coded 3 nights after the marriage. The alarm screamed. Staff rushed in. Ridge was pulled away, forced to watch behind glass as her body convulsed. When the doctors emerged, their expressions said it all. She had been revived, but barely. And now she was in a medically induced coma. Her brain needed rest. Her heart couldn't handle another jolt. The next one might be final. And with that, Ridge finally broke. He smashed a vase in the hospital waiting room, screamed at the ceiling. He pushed everyone away, Steffy, Thomas, even Brooke. He locked himself inside the ICU and didn't leave for nearly 24 hours. When he did, he came out with a decision. If Forrester Creations fell, it fell. He wasn't leaving Taylor's side, but that wasn't an option. Eric stepped in. Silent for weeks, the patriarch now forced Ridge back to the table. You may be her husband, Eric said, but you're also the name on this company. If you abandon it, it dies. If it dies, Taylor wakes up to nothing. That broke through. Ridge returned, haggard and hollow-eyed, and launched the most brutal campaign of his career. He called in every favor, bought out wavering clients, doubled production efforts, moved up fashion line previews, pushed his team to the edge. Press events were rebranded not around scandal, but resilience. Brooke, surprisingly, became the face of the campaign, elegant, strong, standing beside Steffy in photo ops, delivering speeches Ridge couldn't bring himself to give. Public perception began to shift. From grief to glamour, one headline read, "The House That Won't Fall." Meanwhile, Taylor's condition stabilized but didn't improve. Weeks passed. Coma remained. Ridge visited every night. He read her the reviews, showed her fashion spreads, described in detail the revival of the brand she once saved. He begged her to come back, but her fingers never moved. Then, on the 27th night, her eyes opened. No fanfare, no drama, just a slow blink. A flicker of awareness. Ridge called the nurse. She responded to her name. The machines held steady. Doctors rushed in. Ridge cried harder than he ever had. She was back. Weak. Barely conscious. But alive. And, just like that, everything changed. Ridge didn't leave her side again, not until she could speak. Not until she whispered the words that shook him to the core. Did we get married? He smiled. Yes, you're Mrs. Forrester now. And for the first time in months, Taylor smiled back. But the war wasn't over. The board still whispered. The press still waited for collapse. But Ridge didn't care anymore. He had her. The woman who had weathered every storm. The woman who collapsed under pressure but rose again. Not for headlines. Not for image. But for him. For love. And as Taylor slowly began her recovery, Ridge made another vow, not in a chapel, not at a press conference, but alone, beside her hospital bed. Whatever comes next, we face it together. And this time, nothing would break them. But nothing in Los Angeles stays peaceful for long. Especially not for the Forresters. Taylor's recovery, while miraculous, was far from smooth. Physically, she was fragile. Mentally, she struggled. The coma had taken its toll, not just on her body, but on her sense of time, self, purpose. Ridge stayed by her side day and night, but even his presence wasn't always enough. There were moments, quiet, painful moments, when she would wake disoriented, confused, sometimes asking for Phoebe, sometimes reliving old trauma. The doctors warned Ridge her mind needed space to heal, and pushing too hard, too fast, could undo everything. But Ridge couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the company was hanging by a thread. Not when whispers of takeover threats loomed like storm clouds. The wolves were circling. Bill Spencer saw opportunity in Forrester's chaos. He had already started quietly acquiring vendors and distribution partners tied to the company. Ridge had blocked him once, years ago, from touching Forrester. This time, Bill wasn't asking. He moved through shell companies, manipulating contracts, pressuring suppliers. He knew Ridge was stretched thin emotionally, financially, and he played it perfectly. Meanwhile, a new problem emerged within the family. Thomas, still trying to prove his worth after years of toxic behavior, began pushing for more creative control. He claimed he was ready to lead. Ridge disagreed. Tensions rose. Thomas wanted to take over design duties while Ridge focused on Taylor's recovery, but the board, still scarred by Thomas's past scandals, wouldn't allow it. In private meetings, some even suggested replacing Ridge entirely. They didn't say it out loud, but they didn't have to. If Taylor had died, Ridge would have crumbled with her. The only reason he was still functional was because she came back. And everyone knew it. His decisions were emotional, his judgment clouded, and the company, though still breathing, was dangerously close to another freefall. Then came the lawsuit. A gossip site, recently sued by another celebrity, decided to go scorched earth on Forrester to boost traffic. They published unreleased ICU photos of Taylor, leaked emails, conspiracy theories suggesting the marriage was staged. That Ridge married her knowing she was dying, just to gain sympathy and stabilize stock prices. That Taylor's illness was exaggerated. That Brooke was running a PR scheme to pump up her image as the graceful ex-wife. Ridge snapped. He filed a cease and desist, threatened litigation. Brooke advised against it. So did Steffy. But Ridge couldn't let it go. Not this. Not after everything Taylor had fought through. He held a press conference himself, unfiltered, furious, and visibly broken. "This is my wife," he said, holding up a framed photo of Taylor in her hospital gown, smiling faintly. "She almost died. I don't care about your clicks. I care about her life." It went viral. Again. But this time it worked. Public sympathy swung back. Major outlets retracted speculative coverage. The gossip blog was hit with public backlash and advertiser pullout. Ridge's raw grief did more for the company than a dozen marketing campaigns. Still, the cracks were showing. In the background, a silent figure began to reemerge. *** Sheila Carter. *** rumors swirled. She had been spotted in Vegas, then Palm Springs, then LA unconfirmed, but credible. Ridge kept it quiet from Taylor, but Brooke found out. She confronted him privately. "If Sheila's back, you can't handle it alone." Ridge refused help. He had too many enemies already. Too many battles to fight. But Sheila wasn't hiding anymore. She made her move by targeting the weakest point, *** Finn. Steffy's husband had been Sheila's obsession for years. And now, with Steffy distracted trying to manage the fashion house while Ridge spiraled, Sheila crept back into Finn's world. Anonymous letters. Phone calls. A chance meeting at the hospital. It started slow, like it always did with her. Just a whisper, a seed of doubt. "I've changed," she told him. I saved Taylor's life once. Maybe I'm not the monster they say I am. Finn didn't believe her. But he didn't report it either. Mistake. Sheila escalated fast. She broke into Steffy and Finn's house. Not violently. No threats. Just to leave a gift for Hayes, a stuffed toy from when he was a baby. When Steffy found it, she broke down. The security footage showed nothing. No prints. But everyone knew. Sheila was back. Ridge snapped again. This time, he didn't go to the cops. He went hunting. He met with Deacon, still on the fringes of the family drama, but always aware of where Sheila moved. Deacon denied knowing anything. Ridge didn't believe him. The confrontation nearly turned violent. But eventually, Deacon cracked. "She's not hiding from you anymore," he said. "She wants you to see her. She's baiting you." Ridge realized too late. Taylor was the target. Again, Sheila didn't want Ridge. She wanted to destroy what Ridge loved most. And Taylor, vulnerable, recovering, exposed, was the perfect weapon. The hospital went on lockdown. Security doubled. Taylor was moved to a private wing under assumed identity. But Sheila wasn't done. She sent Ridge a photo, Taylor, asleep, taken from inside the hospital room. No timestamp. No source. Just the image. Ridge lost it. He pulled Thomas from the design floor and gave him control of the company. "Take it," he said. "Just hold it together. I have something to finish." Thomas, stunned, agreed, but warned him, "If you go after her, make sure you finish it." Ridge disappeared for 48 hours. No calls. No sightings. Then one morning, a private investigator called Brooke. Ridge had tracked Sheila to a safe house. Alone. Armed. What happened inside was never officially recorded. But when Ridge returned, his knuckles were bloody, his suit torn, and he had a simple message: she's gone. This time, for good. No police report. No body. Just silence. Taylor, still recovering, was kept in the dark. Ridge refused to tell her. "It's over," he said. "That's all that matters." And Forrester? Somehow it survived. Thomas kept the company stable. Steffy brought in a new head of PR. Brooke returned to the board. Fashion Week debuted the Resilience line inspired by Taylor. It became a bestseller. Taylor eventually left the hospital, walking, fragile but alive. The wedding they never had? Ridge promised to do it again, properly, when she was ready. "Not for the cameras," he whispered. "Just for us." But in the shadows, Sheila's memory lingered. Because in Los Angeles, no one ever really disappears. Especially not the wicked.